Yeah, in the exhibition you engaged intensively with the work, the ecological work of Joseph Beuys. And how did you experience the exchange with Joseph Beuys? It's like, what surprised you, what inspired you, what seemed still contemporary, and maybe what seemed a bit outdated?
Maybe can I start with this one, Lee? I think the very first exchange and encounter we had with Joseph Beuys was to realize and recognize just how much work he produced, an incredible amount and diversity of work, and it was really a rich archive to work with and a huge learning experience for both of us. But what we sort of have ended with, this was the beginning, I think the sort of conclusion that I've had at least, is that Joseph Beuys now has become another collaborator of ours. It really feels like he's present in the room. And his voice and his way of thinking has expanded our own, and it's been really a joy.
I would say that the presence of him is so possible because it's being mediated through people like our fantastic curator and the team here, but also the people we've been able to be in conversation with as we're producing this catalog. So it's such a broad, a lot of you are in the room right now, and I'm so excited to see you now. But like, it felt very much like we were working with him in different ways. This presence was present. But I think that even just at the beginning of the project for the Institute for Queer Ecology, which is about 7 years old now, the project tried to like overcome this feeling that we were having in our personal practices, where art making feels so collaborative at its core. And Joseph Beuys has such a different approach to sculpture than what I was being taught in school studying sculpture. And it's this idea of social sculpture that comes in, that really doesn't just guide the exhibition, but how we function as a kind of artistic platform for collaboration with other artists. This goal that art can be this powerful tool for transformational change, both in a society, but also in ourselves. And so, if there's one thing we take from him, it's this, I think.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Yeah, in the very first room of the exhibition, we called it the Baumraum. You started a very intense dialogue with Joseph Beuys' work 7,000 Oaks, 7,000 Eichen. And yeah, this is a piece by Joseph Beuys that he initiated for Documenta 7 in 1982 with the goal to plant 7,000 oaks all over the city of Kassel. And I would like to know what fascinated you about this work and how did you artistically respond to it in this exhibition here?
I should start by saying that to work with 7,000 Oaks was Judith's opening suggestion for working on this show. I'll try to also step away from maybe the speaker for a minute. But that you came to us and suggested this is one of the pieces that we look at, and you couldn't have picked a more perfect piece for us to start working with Joseph Beuys with, not only because of the ways that it's both this sort of social sculpture and ecological movement, but also speaks to both of us very personally. Outside of the arts, I study paleontology and I'm interested in deep time. And this is a piece very much about time. It's a piece about the Stein of the basalt column that was planted with each tree references this deep past, and the oak references this sort of future that is yet to come. And there's this human moment in the middle, and I think this sort of referencing time and playing with time is very interesting and exciting for a paleontologist. But also for Lee. Lee works with mutualism, we're thinking about social sculpture and collaboration and design for the future. So together we have this sort of past and future interest. And I think this, it really clicked when we started thinking about this sculpture that is a performance, that is a collaboration, that is planting trees. That all of these things really resonate with us. And we're thinking about the future and making the future a better place.
This trilogy of time, from the deep geological past of the stone to the more than human future and the growth of the oak, is something that we reference in another work that I'll share in a moment. But one of the things that comes up in that first room, in the Baumraum, is that that trilogy of time collapses now in a moment of climate change. Nick and I are coming from places, Miami and Arizona, where we grew up amongst different oak trees, but beautiful big oak trees that to each of us mean immense things. And all of the trees, all of the oaks in both of those regions are under extreme climate pressures right now, where in Miami the sea water is coming up and inundating the roots, and they're not very salt tolerant, so they're dying. And in Arizona, they're like moving farther and farther up a mountain because of heat, but the mountain is only so high and they're already near the top. And so we're looking at the pressures that are facing the oaks that we grew up on as well, and then thinking what it means to be in conversation with this historical work, and then also later today we're excited to be planting one.
I think the oaks for Beuys represent the future, and we're sort of seeing this moment where the future of our oaks is in peril. And that's really a part of the work and a part of I think also Joseph Beuys, and why he started the Green Party and is interested in ecological work, is thinking about the future and how we can move forward and build a better one when it seems like it's at the end of things, for the oaks and for us.
If we could give maybe a brief intro to the largest new commission in the show. It's an installation that you might have passed the hallway to get here. It's the one that bathes you in the pink light of these different grow lights, and there's 3 different garden beds. And this is kind of responding to the idea of this trilogy of time, this yesterday, today, tomorrow, which is the title of the work. And the work is made out of soil and wildflower seeds and clay. And so the sculptures that we've made are this queer approach to sculpture, where sculpture comes from this, before Joseph Beuys, in the canons of sculpture, the idea of the medium is that often it's used to preserve things in marble or in bronze, and often those things are the figures of people into the future. And we're thinking about what a temporal sculpture practice would look like, that has a softer touch on the earth, and that not only does that, but that engages with seeds as the medium. So hopefully we're shocked to see that the sculptures that were built earlier this week are already growing. But we're hoping that by the end of the show in December, the sculptures are totally dissolved and become just gardens in the room. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And we all have the pleasure to enjoy a lot of new productions from you in this show. And you were not only inspired by the work of Joseph Beuys, but also from Moyland, the landscape, the flowers, animals, and people here in North Rhine-Westphalia. And collaboration is very important for you. I would like to know why collaboration is so important for you, and if you can give us some concrete examples, because also for this exhibition you collaborated with a lot of different people, different entities. So if you could give us some concrete examples how this resonates in this show here, it would be great.
Maybe we start just with a very quick example of the light that is moving up the wall every 2 seconds, coming from the piece that's out above the bridge into the museum. This is one of our new works that we made for the castle. I move over here. We made here for Schloss Moyland, thinking about the castle, thinking about the moat, thinking about what a castle is made to do, which is really to keep things out. It's a defensive structure, but here we invite everything in. We invite not only all the people into the museum, but also the insects, the plants, the birds, the rocks in the ground, and the water in the moat. Everything can come in and be part of the community that we're already a part of. This is an invitation, and I think the opening of the exhibition, and it's been really exciting to be here physically in Germany, and especially on the bike, on the road. And to run through the rain and with the trees and the slugs on the ground. And the slugs even have become part of the work too. It's like these, I think, part of the intention of the work that the Institute does is to remind us that our communities and our networks are not only importantly diverse within people, but also that we're all part of this community and network of ecological entities that are all engaged together materially and energetically, and we're all touching other things. That we're not just people here on this earth, but we need to think about all the other species that we live with and share the world with.
If there's 2 ways that we'd like you to understand queerness through the exhibition and through our work, it's maybe that at an individual level, queerness is an invitation to change, to transform, to be malleable and fluid in your aesthetic and your identity. And these are wonderful character attributes to have on a planet that's rapidly changing. But beyond that, if we think about a collective feeling of queerness, we can think about mutual support networks. We can think about where we step in for each other in the absence of conventional support systems. And that can be in many ways, what in queer circles we call a chosen family, and what we call in the Institute of Queer Ecology, collaboration. Working with other people, working with other artists, working with people beyond the arts. Nick and I are so honored to steward this project, but it's worked with 150 artists in the past 7 years. One of the more collaborative works on view here is Metamorphosis, a 4-channel film that is made by, I believe, 9 people. And even the first thing you see as you come into the space is a terrarium that is both a collaboration with the non-human, with the botanical, to invite plants to teach us something about how the world can be understood as more diverse than it's taught to us in schools. But also the object itself is made in collaboration with a friend of ours and past collaborator, Sixter Wanzavela, who runs a project called Queer Botany. The whole show became this then invitation to organize with the public programmings team here a community garden. And so one of the things you'll see as we talk about the show is this pile of wildflower seeds, and then some of them are just starting to grow in these sculptures, and we invite you to take some of the seeds home with you. But if you're wondering what they look like, luckily the community garden has been under construction and maintained by a wonderful group of people for the past, is it 3 months now it's been growing? And so you can see what some of the plants that we're inviting you to take home with you might become.
Yeah, I think we want to thank especially the people who have worked on the community garden, the Jugendzentrum Lupa and the Hochschule Rheinwald. It's been it's spectacular to arrive here and see these gardens in bloom, and to imagine what maybe this work will look like at the end of the show. I think very briefly I want to end by to say that collaboration, I think Judith introduced in her introduction of us as sort of the medium of the Institute. And when you look through a show like this and you see sculptures made out of wildflowers and video work and also prints and sculptures of jumpsuits that we'll also be performing or wearing in later, it seems like there's a lot of pressure, I think, in the contemporary art world to find a medium, to find a space that you work in and develop a sort of voice through. And there isn't that here. There isn't this sort of singular medium. But this idea of these are, I think to us, maybe the products of a process that is more important than the medium itself. That is this coming together as a group or as a pair and working through ideas together. That the process of thinking and working and being together produces these works as a byproduct, not as the end goal. And it's really trying to find these moments where we can work together with joy and each other and make a little utopia for a moment.
One very last short question, but we are living in a time of crisis and great uncertainties, and your work is embodying strong, important and hopeful messages. And I would like to ask you, what do you hope that our visitors are taking home from this exhibition?
I bet we have different answers for that.
You want to start?
No, you go ahead.
At a quick logistical and functional level, we have wildflowers that we're offering you as part of the show. And so part of the show, in the spirit of Joseph Beuys' 7,000 Eichen, where you have the basalt stones in this very concrete sculpture moment before it dissolves into this social sculpture across a landscape, across a city. We invite you to do the same in the opportunity of the show here, to take one of the works home with you, a piece called Utopia in Bursts. And that burst is catalyzed by you collecting some of these seeds, bringing them home to your garden, and creating a space for other species. But beyond that moment in the show, I think just the invitation to be here, to be speaking about queerness and identity and diversity in this way, If there's one thing to take home, it's a challenge to maybe connect and understand someone that you don't. And that, you know, the world is becoming so siloed in how we get our information, how we think about each other, that if the show could be an opportunity to bridge that gap, to bring something queer to your life, or to honor what is already queer in your life, but also beyond that into, you know, open borders, immigrant communities, anything you can do to invite this diversity and this biodiversity into your life is what we're trying to catalyze, I think, with the show.
Well, I was wrong. I think we do have the same goal there. I was going to say it a little differently. Just to say, maybe for a moment, if you can try to forget that you're human when you come back into being human again with a little bit more empathy. I think that's the goal.
Wonderful. Thank you very, very much.